Hi, Micah. It's Grandma Loli. We're going to read together today. I have a book. It's called A Turkey for Thanksgiving. This is A Turkey for Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving morning. Mr. Moose helped Mrs. Moose set the Thanksgiving table. Sheep will sit here. He likes a chair that's straight up and down, Mr. Moose said. Rabbit here, Porcupine here, Mr. and Mrs. Goat here. He smiled at his wife. Isn't it nice we're going to have friends to share Thanksgiving? Mrs. Moose set out 2 paper pilgrims, one at each end of the table. She placed the paper turkey with its green fan of a tail between the candles and stood back. They look good, my dear, Mr. Moose said. Mrs. Moose sighed. Yes, but I wish we had a real turkey. Everyone has a turkey for Thanksgiving. Everyone but us. Mr. Moose nuzzled Mrs. Moose's head. Well, that won't do. I'll go out in a minute and find you a turkey for Thanksgiving. See, they're loving on each other. Give your mama love. Mr. Moose put on his cap and went out. Mist wandered through the bare trees. Did that at Grandma's house this morning. The cold made his nose water. I bet that happens to you too, huh? Rabbit poked his head from his rabbit hole. Mr. Moose, is it dinner time? Not quite, yes. Mrs. Moose wants a turkey. I'm off to find one. Rabbit joined him in 3 quick hops. I'll come too. See, there's the rabbit. He's hopping along. He's going to join Mr. Moose looking for a turkey. What do you think they're going to do with the turkey? Moose's warm breath hung white in front of him. Snow crunched under his hooves and made little holes that the rabbit jumped over. I see the goats, Rabbit said. Where are the goats? There they are. See, there's the goats. They're in their goat house. Do you remember when we saw goats? When we went up for one of our adventures here? That was fun, wasn't it? Mr. Goat raised his head and spat out the tin can he was chewing. Is it dinner time, he called. Not till I find a turkey, Mr. Moose said. We saw one down by the river, Mrs. Goat told him. And Mr. Goat added, a fat one. The earth smelled of ice and moss as they crunched along. And a crow hung black as a puff of wood smoke. Porcupine was hiding in the underbrush. See, there's Porcupine, he's hiding. Looks kind of like Hedgehog, doesn't he? It's you, he said, and put his quills down. We're off to get a turkey for Mrs. Moose, Mr. Moose explained. Do you want to come? I'm slow, Porcupine said. Pick me up on your way back. So they probably do. Who'd want to pick you up, Sheep said, and laughed a bleat of his laugh. I'll wait, Porcupine told Mr. Moose. They saw Turkey's nest right away, and Turkey himself peering over the top of it. See, there's Turkey. It looks like Turkey's sweating, doesn't it? He looks a little concerned. Turkey, turkey, Mr. Moose called in his sweetest voice. Turkey, turkey. Ah! Turkey blundered from his nest and ran. Mr. Moose lumbered after him. Turkey, turkey, don't run. We just want you for Thanksgiving dinner. Turkey ran faster. Uh-oh. Mr. Moose saw the red and blue sheen of Turkey's neck. Did I miss a page? No. Turkey's tail brushed crumbs of snow behind him as he tried to fly. Too fat, Mr. Goat said. Turkey's legs bent in the middle after he fell. Mr. Moose put a booted hoof on his head and smiled his great toothy smile. I hope you don't have other plans for Thanksgiving, Turkey. See, there he is. Turkey does not look very happy, does he? He helped Turkey up. See, look, Mr. Moose is helping Turkey up. And there's the whole crew. We've got Hedgehog here, not Hedgehog, Porcupine, and Rabbit, and there's the goats and the sheep. Everybody's going back to Moose's house. My wife won't mind that you're too fat. Let's go. It's getting close to dinner time. They marched Turkey in front. I'm sorry about this, for I can see you don't want to come, Mr. Moose said. But I must insist. A promise is a promise. So here they are back at the Moose's house, and there's Mrs. Moose with something delicious. There was a wreath of dried fruit on the Moose's door. Inside the house was filled with Thanksgiving smells. Mr. Moose hid Turkey behind him. See, there he is. There's Turkey hiding behind Moose. Turkey probably still wants to leave. Look who I brought, Mrs. Moose, he said. Sheep, the goats, rabbit, and porcupine. And ta-da! He pushed Turkey around in front of him. Just for you, a turkey for Thanksgiving. Mrs. Moose clapped her hooves. I'm so happy to have you here, Turkey. Thank you, Mr. Moose. Now everything is perfect. Shall we sit? Sheep asked, heading for the straight up and down chair. Let's, Mrs. Moose pointed. Rabbit here, porcupine here, Mr. and Mrs. Goat here. And look, I brought a chair from the other room in hopes of a turkey. A chair? Turkey stammered. Right next to me, Mrs. Moose said. Light the candles, Mr. Moose. See, she's putting Turkey in the chair. It's a pretty blue chair, too. There were bowls of acorns and alfalfa sprouts, dried since summer. There was willow bark and cured grasses and wild parsley. There were pressed leaves, thin and pale as new ice on a pond. I hope you find something here to your liking, Mr. Turkey, Mrs. Moose said. I wasn't sure of your taste. See, Mrs. Moose is trying to make sure that Turkey has something to eat for their Thanksgiving that they're sharing. You are so kind to worry about my taste, Turkey said. I thought you'd be worrying about how I taste. Look at him. He looks very sheepish, doesn't he? There's their nice table. Oh, heavens, no, Mrs. Moose smiled. Mr. Moose smiled his big tooth smile and filled everyone's cup with cold spring water. It's so nice to have friends around the table at Thanksgiving. Turkey's waddles wobbled. See, the turkey waddles are the little things under his neck. See, Grandma has a little bit of turkey waddle here. Turkey's waddles wobbled. It's even nicer to be at your table and not on it, he said. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Everybody's eating and enjoying each other's company. Happy Thanksgiving, Turkey. So you can read along with this book with me now, Micah. I love you so much. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I will be sending you some more books and some more video recordings to go with your books real soon. Grandma loves you forever and ever, to the moon and back. Mwah. Send me a kiss. Mwah. Love you.